Hi, I'm Roel Weerdenburg. I'm a composer, sonic designer, and I build audio and video installations.
So what is panOptical?
Pan-optical is an installation that first debuted at Uncloud Festival in a former psychiatric research prison, the Pieter Baan Center here in Utrecht. The installation is about mass surveillance and how we are being watched continuously and how does it feel to be watched, and also to watch others via this installation. The very practical side is that I had this big building in the space, and there was still a camera system, a CCTV system installed. I was inspired by this system and also by the building itself because it was a former prison. It made a lot of sense to use that system that was still in place. Also because it's in line with what I generally do. I just looked at what was available to me and started to use that and test if it was even possible to work with it. And I also think it's a very interesting subject to work with, to show people how this surveillance technology works and how it feels to watch others walking around through the exhibition, because you could see like all the different floors and all the entries and exits. And
so it was like a recorded live, let's say.
Yeah, it was. There was in one hallway there were screens set up, and on those screens you could see the cameras all throughout the building, and even cameras outside filming the streets. It was live sent to this installation, so all these cameras were really live images of what happened in and around the building. By now, panOptical is an installation that addresses more of these systems. So the latest version is about, so it uses all sorts of different cameras, IP cameras, so there are digital cameras connected to the network, to the internet. The installation logs into all these cameras live, so you can see people in Japan, for instance, sitting in their garden eating if they have this camera installed, and if it's not properly protected.
This makes me a little bit like moral, say, Ikes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I feel some provocation here.
Yeah.
Deliberate provocation. What are you trying to tell us?
You have all these surveillance and security systems in place, and those are being sold to us with a certain ID that we need to protect ourselves, or that we need to solve crime and do all these things. What happens then is that you have these big manufacturers, and they sell security systems to people and to consumers and to companies and to public services like big municipality buildings, and but what they don't do is properly protect these products and protect what happens with these products. So these cameras, they use a standard code, password, like 0000 or just something very simple. And with every brand, that's like a fixed thing. So every Panasonic camera, for instance, has 0000 as a password. And the companies don't change that, but if you don't tell the users and the consumers or the professional users to change that password, it will never happen. And all these images, all these live images are available on the internet. You have a website for this, instacam.org, and you can check, you can log into any camera that is not protected properly everywhere around the world. So that's
scary.
It's a bit scary. Like, this is a very concrete, a very touchable thing, right? It's easy for people to understand. But there's also more complicated systems, and we hear about this all the time in the news, more complicated systems that should gather our data, and it should be protected, but we also hear that it goes wrong in a lot of cases. And while that is more abstract and you can't really visualize this, with this camera system it's very clear what happens. If you see children playing in a daycare, or if you see people eating on in their garden, or even in the living room just sitting, if these cameras are not protected, you're able to log into it. And that's like the most intimate situations that I have seen on those cameras. I think it's especially that these manufacturers are not taking the responsibility to change this, because this has been like this for decades and it's still happening. Still, these new cameras are being brought onto the market and nothing has changed. Even though this website, instacam.org, it exists for I think 10 years now. has been in the news very extensively around that time. It's this Russian hacker, and he created this website also just because he wanted to show this to the world. And still nothing has changed, and all these manufacturers don't really protect the products, and also then not the consumers. Yeah. So I think it's a very fine line. Yeah, of course, it's very confronting to people. A lot of people confronted me with this fact that I'm just showing images. Sometimes you have to use very confronting and extreme measures to show or to address a problem like this. The thing is that I'm not recording anything, so all these images are being lively displayed on the screens, but it's not being recorded, and because that would make it more tricky. Like legally, that wouldn't be okay. And also these images only show for a maximum of 30 seconds. So even if something very intimate is shown, most of the times it's impossible to recognize faces or to recognize people. And it's gone in 30 seconds. That's making it less of a problem. But I do see that people have problems with it. I've been confronted with that question a lot. If you want to address something, maybe you have to use more controversial and extreme measures. People do feel it. And as I said, this is just one kind of system, and it's very easy to understand for people. And when I have a talk with the visitors or people who see the installation, I also say, this is not... There are more systems in place like this. There's more happening with cameras or other systems that are like, it's meant to provide safety and security and solve crime.
Exactly the opposite.
In a way, it's doing exactly the opposite. Yeah. And I think we just have to be more cautious with what technology we implement to make our lives better or to improve security or whatever. We have to realize that these systems could also do the opposite or have negative sides as well. It depends. I think if you see a living room with people eating, or even a garden with people sitting on their terrace and just having breakfast or something, I think that's already kind of crossing a line. You don't want those people to be seen because they're enjoying their moment, and it's a very private situation. I think that's the most intimate that I have seen. Apart from that...
no sex scenes, nothing.
No, I haven't seen people installing these cameras in their bedroom. No, not yet. But but I mean, this could also happen in a living room. It's not like living rooms are the most extreme example of what I've seen. In most cases, it's office buildings and like beach camps and ski pistes and that kind of stuff. Most images are very innocent, but there are some more private things. There's not really sound in these images. Most of the cameras don't have sound being sent. So I think with this installation, it's mostly installed in, the screens make noise, and you have all the media players. If you have a lot of them, they will also make noise. What I want to achieve with these installations is that also technology is very visible. So you have the screens and you have the media players and you have all the cables just hanging about. And I think all of that is creating this atmosphere, and also the noise that the screens make and the noise that the media players make. All these things combined are contributing to the fact that it is about technology. I think music in this case would put a more dramatic effect on it, and it's already so dramatic that it would not be balanced anymore. So I made the choice to not make extra music for it. Only the first version of it in the former psychiatric prison, there was a phone there. And the phone I hacked and I displayed sound over it, so you could pick up the phone and listen to it, and it would just make a noise that I recorded throughout the building, and it would just display that over the phone. So that was a part of music or generated sound that was really in this work, but that was all. What I like to do in general is develop these works. So every time it's being exhibited, I want to add something new or change something around. And I think by now, with these IP cameras from all over the world, it's kind of having a final form. Next time I install it, it really depends on the place and what they want and what is possible. That will really have an effect on how it will look. If there's a CCTV camera system available there, I will use it, or I will install my own cameras and maybe next to it have these IP cameras being displayed as well. I'm not sure. I installed it a lot of times now, or a lot, I think 8 times. Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of form it will take, but it would definitely be in that kind of, in that theme. Maybe I want to do more with sound, so put microphones throughout the building or throughout the space so that the audio part is also being captured. It depends on the next job I get.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget, there's more to watch.